Hi, folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob, and thank you for showing up. Today, I got a special guest for you, friend of mine, worked with him, worked for him. We had a lot of fun. Now he's going on to bigger and better things now. He was just a lieutenant governor when I knew him. Now he's the governor. Now he's a big shot. Here's Governor Dan McKee, folks.
Hi, Bob.
How you doing?
Good. I don't think you ever worked for me, though. I mean, we worked together. I know the difference.
We had fun.
That's right. I know the
fun.
difference. You know, we had the chocolate-covered strawberries. And,
All the time.
And we got around the state of Rhode Island.
We went all over the state, didn't we?
All 39 cities and towns.
4 times, 3 times, 4 times?
At least we had a number of tours. Right?
We had the farms.
We had the farms. That was probably the most popular one.
That was, well, yeah, because we did
I think
62
we got
farms.
Yeah, I know. We got about that number.
Yeah.
And we were taking pictures.
Yep.
I still got the pictures.
You got the pictures?
Yeah, you had me sign some autographs. I don't know whether it's worth anything today, but we sent out the pictures of the places we visited.
Hey, we went to businesses, and one business was right next door here.
Yep.
Evans Capacitor.
Yep.
And I noticed they just changed the name to Quantum Evans now.
Yeah, we'll have to stop in and say hello.
Yeah.
You know, have a reunion meeting.
Oh, that was an interesting place. They, if you remember, they actually made capacitors that were used in the space shuttle or space mission or something. I mean, I was amazed at how many places, there was 3 places that I remember we went to that were robots. They made robots. They built robots.
Yeah, we did a manufacturing tour. That was on the manufacturing tour, right?
Right.
Which all those visits really helped me a great deal in this transition. But yeah, the manufacturing, I think that was out in Cranston, some of the robotics there, right?
That's right.
And then we were down in Quonset as well, where they had a lot of robotics down there.
And
so,
South County, too. There was another one down in South County,
Sure.
too.
We went to all the manufacturers. Did you go to Block Island with me, too, when we went to the manufacturers?
Yeah, don't you remember? We got off the boat and some guy pulled up and he goes, "Hi, Bob."
Yeah, he didn't know me. They wouldn't know me either, right, today. But no, we
Remember
visited.
that was hilarious.
The manufacturer we visited there, right, was doing yarn off of the llamas or the sheep or whatever it was, right?
They were llamas, I think.
And I bought a Christmas gift for my wife, Susan, was one of the
You
scarves
bought a
there.
lot of stuff. You ended up buying almost all these places that had stuff to
We did the
sale.
best we could. I got a lot of blueberries.
Yeah.
I got a lot of tomatoes. Were you on the tour when we did the oyster farm?
Actually, that was one of the very few I didn't do.
Because you didn't like to go down the water, I don't think.
No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. I don't remember why, but I didn't do that tour with you. But I did just about all of them.
We did the oyster farm. We did the one in Westerly, the one off of North Kingstown. So that got us in every community.
Right, exactly.
That was a big deal.
Well,
for us.
it got you, I think, the notoriety of being the best educated of the state, of any governor that I think, no governor, in my recollection, ever did anything like that.
And they kept on doing it, right? We did, the final one was, we were in the middle of the art tour, which was art-related businesses and nonprofits, and then COVID hit. But before that, we did a used car dealer tour, which was really interesting.
Now, that one I missed out on because I had already left.
Yeah, that's right.
That one would have liked because I used to hustle cars. So
I know.
I
You hustled cars, is that the right word?
Huh?
You hustled them?
Oh, yeah, that's what we did. Yeah.
Well, you always like to have the nice car.
Exactly. When I went to Cuba just before the pandemic, a couple of years before that, we're driving down the road. We're in a '54 Pontiac Fire Chief. We're at the red light, and there's 2 lanes on this side, median, wide median, 2 lanes on the other side. We're at the red light over on the other side. Now I'm in a car full of, I got a CIA agent, I got a Navy SEAL, I got an English guy from the MI6, England, and my friend who's a doctor who used to be a Navy jet fighter pilot, right? And I happen to be sitting in the front, and we're at the red light, and I look over and I go, "Hey, Doc, look at that 52 Chevy convertible, and look at that 57 Buick convertible, and look at that 55, that's a Ford convertible." And the guy driving turns and looks over at me and goes, "How do you know all these cars?" I said, "I've owned them all."
Was Fidel in any of them?
Was what?
You're in Cuba, you said?
Yeah.
Was Fidel Castro in any of them?
No, his brother was, though.
His brother was.
Raphael was, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was a crazy trip.
Well, we did the used car one, and we helped that's working with the small businesses. We helped them organize an organization, right? They affiliated with the Massachusetts Used Car Dealer Association. Had people come in from Texas to help them form that because we wanted them to have a professional connection into the DMV.
Oh.
So because the DMV weighs in on a lot of used car dealers.
Absolutely.
And
it was a pain to go.
Yeah, and it was not like as smooth as it should have been.
Expect it.
But so we opened up the communication, and now we actually, as governor, I got to appoint somebody to that car dealers committee.
Yep.
And
Association.
And we put somebody that had an understanding of the used car dealers on there. So it not only was it good to get out,
right,
but it was good to kind of hear what was going on, right? We did that with the farmers. And then I get to be governor now, so I get to do budgets.
Yep.
And we put in LASA grants. I think they call them LASA grants for the agricultural, and they had been reduced and reduced and reduced. But those $5,000, $10,000 grants were helping like a farm down in Little Compton, for instance, that got into yogurt development, right, making their yogurt, and they got a yogurt machine. They were able to buy a yogurt machine from that. So
remember the family that was in the. I think it's Situate. The daughter was.
I know you had me milking goats. Yeah, you had me milking a goat. It's true. He had me milking a goat. You know, I heard that. I heard Rachel's kind of moving on. She did a great job there. When I was chair of the National Lieutenant Governors Association, I was just talking on the way here to somebody that's in Nashville right now. I always would bring something from Rhode Island to the national meetings when I chaired.
Right.
So in that meeting,
a lot of people don't realize that you were the chairman of that whole national.
So I contacted Rachel. That's Rachel's. That's what she was doing, a lot of soaps and stuff like that.
Right.
And we bought like a supply of soaps that she made, and then some creams, and then they put it in a bag, and I bought all that from Rachel, and then we brought it down to Nashville. So we spread it around. I put cards. Her business card and everything.
Yeah.
I just call her up, get some business. So, yeah, so we were able to kind of really, and yes, you had me milking goats.
But you know something? I wasn't going to bring that up.
No.
I was not going to bring it up.
You were thinking it.
No, I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to bring it up.
I think you were going to think of it. But those tours, not only, got me connected as a former mayor, right, to make sure all the municipalities are connected. But that really helped lead the way in terms of coming out of the COVID, in terms of we were very, and being a small business person myself and riding those roller coasters, whether it was the banking crisis or the internet bubble after 9/11 or the real estate collapse, in late 2010 timeframe, in that range. I knew that this was going to be a real struggle for these small businesses.
Right.
So as lieutenant governor, I became that advocate that was saying, let's get grants to these businesses. Let's make sure that we're doing everything to keep these small businesses in business, because we know, and you know, that it's not easy running a small business.
Yep.
It takes a great deal of time to develop a small business, several years before you get some level of stability in most cases.
And before you break even a lot of times.
In most cases. So if you lose that, if all of a sudden you're out, then how are you going to restart? Yep. And so that was like something that I felt as though was through my experience and what you just talked about.
Yep.
And that's how I organized. We ended up organizing almost 2,000 small businesses through a small business coalition that a couple people, Chris Parisi, Justin Johnrak, and Lisa Jatari, kind of helped start and they're still living today, that small business coalition. And I was able to.
I'm glad they're still living today.
They're still doing it. They're still alive. They're still online. I couldn't tell you what the online is, but maybe you can put it up later for these small businesses that want to participate, because now they have a political voice, which the small business community never did.
Right,
so we were able to organize that in the pandemic, take advantage of the opportunity, even though it was difficult. And then I was able to, as soon as I became governor, I made sure that there was $30 million that was promised to the small businesses that had not been distributed in grants, and we made sure we rolled that over into
They all got a piece of it?
They all got a piece. We did probably 6,000
wow.
$5,000 grants.
Nice.
Now, you think about that, small state, that means that every community was getting something to help them pay their rent, or pay their electric bill, or just, pay their insurance, or whatever it might be. And as a result of that, we were able to really, very proud of the fact that our state, Rhode Island, #1 recovering state in the Northeast, #2 in the country, Bob.
That's amazing.
And that is amazing, because we always have had the reputation of being first in and last out of these economic downturns.
Yeah.
My feeling is, if we can sustain ourselves over the next few years, we can kind of, take that away. Like, make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right.
Right. Well, and if we're able to do, I put in small business articles in the budget, so it just says, let's help the small businesses, and we put like 8 things in that would help the small businesses, from motorcycle trade-in values, right? So motorcycle trade-in values in Rhode Island up till this year, up till October 1st, that value never came off the value of
Your tax, your sales tax.
Right. So if I have a $20,000 motorcycle, I'm going to buy
yeah.
it, 5,000 trade-in, I still paid sales tax on the 20,000.
No, like a
But
guy has a Harley for 2
That's right.
years, right?
Yep.
And it's now worth 20,000.
Yep.
And he buys a new Harley
Yep.
for 25,000. He trades it in. He didn't get
Up to that point in time, Massachusetts and Connecticut, the trade-in value came off the
Right.
calculation.
And
of the
Rhode
sales
Island
tax.
didn't?
And it hadn't. So I put that in the
Wow.
budget, and that got passed. And along with about 7 other things, 8 things that I think are going to help our small businesses, and including reducing the penalties and interest on late tax payments, because many businesses are still struggling. And so now we brought that down to Massachusetts levels. Heck, we were at usury rates, for God's sake. So
Yeah, exactly.
you could borrow money on the street corner in, in New York City at lower rates than we were charging.
And I understand the penalties were worse than the
penalties, so
interest rate.
we brought them down so we're in parity, with Massachusetts and Connecticut. So I'm doing this all over the place. So I mentioned that as people, watching, if they have small businesses and they have like a situation like that motorcycle issue, right?
Right.
If they have something that is, specific into their business that is that Massachusetts or Connecticut has an advantage over us, we want to level that.
Yeah, you want to be on parity with them. There's no sense in being.
Yeah. Yeah, the first goal is to be make sure that we are as competitive with Massachusetts and Connecticut, and then even become more competitive for our small business community.
Right, right.
And then we can tackle outside New England. But right now, that's kind of the goal. So we're looking at another list that actually you were working with me on when you were working with me in Lieutenant Governor's office with. Right now, we're charging too much on paint recycling. So
The 75 cents.
The 75 cents. There you go.
I get nailed all the time.
Yeah,
I've been working on a house.
we're gonna roll that into the budget this year. We've been trying to get that down, help paint contractors, help hardware stores.
Explain how people used to get, how much money is taken into that paint recycling.
Yeah, so
business.
it's every gallon you buy in the state of Rhode Island. It's a
75
good
cents.
program. You charge 75 cents for recycling the paint.
Right.
And then we recycle the paint, so that it doesn't go into the drains or into the environment. Good program, but we could do that program for probably 50% less.
Right.
And so what happens is, I say a paint contractor that buys 1,000 gallons of paint a year, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So that's going to be, $7,500 or whatever it might be. That should be cut in half. So we're going to, those are the type of things. The same thing with mattress recycling right now. We're not even with Massachusetts, Connecticut on that. The cost is more. So our
Do you
furniture
remember who brought
shows.
that up to you? The paint recycling thing? Do you remember who brought that up to you? I think I do.
Paint recycling.
About the 75 cents and
Was it a paint contractor that? No.
I don't think we knew him as a paint contractor. His name's Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name's Paul. It's the guy that has that place down in South County, in Charlestown, that beautiful preserve.
Yeah, so
Isn't his name Paul?
we were doing the tours with the show here, and thanks Diana and everybody else for helping us out. We were actually doing on-site shows, right?
Yep.
When we were doing out of our office, right? And I think when we opened it up to the small businesses, I think that came up.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where it came up.
There's a lot of good ideas
South
come up
Kingstown.
as a result of those tours.
Yeah.
Do you remember that place in Coventry, the 2,800 acres that is connected with?
The Cranberry place?
There you go.
Yeah, the cranberry place. I got a good memory.
You do have a good memory. Do you remember their name?
I'm going to get the wrong name, but I'll tell you one thing.
It was a color. How's that one? I'll give you a hint.
It was a color?
Their last name was a color.
I'm not, I don't know. Tell me what.
Well, it's not blue.
Yeah.
It's not red.
No.
It's not yellow.
Yeah, well, you think it was green?
Of course it was green. In fact, they were connected. They went all the way back, I think, to the Pilgrims, that family. There was some.
How about the Christmas tree? Were you on the Christmas
Latham?
tree one day?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Down in West Greenwich?
Yeah,
Christmas tree.
Latham. That's Latham's place, wasn't it? Is that his name?
No, it's somebody's tree farm. Come on.
Yeah, Latham's Tree Farm. Wasn't it Latham? Isn't that his name?
No, I'm going to get his name better. I'm embarrassed right now because I just saw Matt.
Right.
Layden.
I was close. I said Latham.
Yeah,
Latham
so I
Tree
was
Farm.
just down in Cranston, in Coventry, and he was at a house party they were helping me because there was a big problem on Johnson's Pond in Coventry.
Yes, with the water, right?
And I wanted to, so we were really pretty proactive trying to solve that problem. And so Matt was there, and Matt did the tour with us. It turned out that Matt ended up going to Assumption College, which I found out after the fact that's where I graduated from, and he played ball at Assumption College. So we had a good conversation about basketball. Oh. But we are going to now, because we're doing the Christmas tree outside the State House.
Oh, good.
Rather than inside the State House.
Yeah, good.
So we'll keep
like a mini
the artificial
New York, huh?
one inside because of fire stuff and everything, but we're going to do a tree lighting like we did last year with a real tree, kind of Rockefeller Center type-ish, right? And so we're going to get our tree. And I said, well, how tall should the tree be, Matt? He says, it should at least be 20 feet. So we're going to get at least a 20-foot outdoor tree.
No, it's got to be bigger than that, 20 feet. Come on.
That's pretty tall.
No, 20 feet's nothing.
How tall you want?
You got to have 30 feet anyway.
I don't have a crane at the State House to do that.
You got connections.
Huh?
You're the governor, for God's sakes.
I'm still the guy that you get the chocolate.
Yeah, you're still the Cumberland guy.
Strawberries from. Yeah, I'm still the guy. But anyways, we're going to do a nice outdoor tree. We're going to work with a local business, small business that we actually met on those farm tours. On those farm tours, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Want to talk about?
You want to talk about something else? Let's talk about jobs.
Huh?
We got through the fun stuff. Now we'll talk about jobs.
Jobs?
Jobs. That's one of the things I got here, jobs.
These are the things that don't get talked about in campaigns. Is actually the stuff you're getting done, right? So when reopening the economy so fast, going from one of the lowest vaccinated states, we're number one in the country right now. I got all the municipalities involved in that, right? All the firefighters weren't putting shots in the arm, all the EMTs, all the school nurses. So, but what it's done is it did two things. One, we reopened the economy faster than anyone.
Right.
And what did that translate to? It translated to managing the largest surplus that the state has ever had in a state budget. So when you were able to reopen the economy was so strong that the revenues were so high that we were able to get the largest surplus, and now we're able to invest that surplus in economic development that's going to create jobs. So right now, Rhode Island, at least as of last time I saw, we were had the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And there's still good paying jobs available. So when you're looking at Fidelity still hiring everybody out there, if you have an interest in becoming, getting involved in the career with Fidelity, you should call our office or call Fidelity. They're still hiring. I think the last I heard, there's got 300-400 jobs still available there. Electric Boat is still hiring.
Yeah, and they start off at $20 an hour.
And more than that.
But I mean, if you have no talent.
Those are $50,000, $60,000 a year jobs right off the bat. Yeah. So there's 1,000 of those every year for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Because of the money that Senator Reid brought in on the submarine construction. But we have other jobs that are out there right now. And we've got a budget that's going to develop good paying, prevailing wage jobs. So when we talk about like the fisheries down in Galilee, which is one of our 10 strongest fishing ports on the Northeast, we're investing about $40 million to restore all the steel docks and to shore up that fishing industry.
All along
right along Galilee.
Yeah,
right all around where the boats come in, the ships come in.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make sure that port is structured, sound infrastructure, and so that that business can continue to prosper. But the people who are going to do the work, the steel work that's going to be there, right? Those are going to be prevailing wage jobs.
Sure.
That's going to be a couple years of work. So you're going to put people to work like that. Quonset, the same thing. We're investing right now with the offshore wind and supply chain at Quonset, and Ørsted, who's one of the leading international companies on offshore wind, is really anchored here in Rhode Island.
Right.
They're making a serious investment in Quonset to keep the import, export, and the whole supply chain for the offshore wind. We're opening up a seaport right here in East Providence.
I heard about that.
Right, and South Key.
I had East Providence Mayor on the show.
Dealership, Mayor De Silva was a great
Good
champion
guy,
for that.
yeah.
And so that's going to be a significant investment, as much as a $100 million investment. I put $35 million into the budget hopefully we're going to be able to leverage that into a federal grant. But what's going to happen there? That's going to be a couple years of prevailing job work to get that, construct that seaport, and there's going to be an entertainment venue that's going to be with it. Thousands of jobs. Not only Amazon right now is being built in Johnston. So that was my first project to kind
Right.
of negotiate that and make sure that that was done in a way, all prevailing wage. Well, Amazon, one of the largest companies in the world. It's building one of its largest facilities on the East Coast, right here in Rhode Island. There's going to be, so there's thousands of jobs right there in the construction, and now there's going to be another 1,200 jobs there when they actually
open up. Yeah.
And that's going to be in that $20 beginning with
Right.
benefits.
Yep.
So people are going to be able to earn $40,000 a year. They might be earning $20,000 right now.
Right.
Or there might be $60,000, $70,000 a year jobs there, right? So what we've been able to do is the Superman building, right? The Superman building is going to provide significant amount of jobs as they retrofit and they rebuild that facility to, I think, almost 230 housing units with some retail. Then when the thing is done, it's going to create people who are going to be in the downtown supporting the small businesses, so it's going to just duplicate itself. We're doing the same thing in Pawtucket with the soccer program.
Well, you're jumping ahead here, because I want to get
you want to
back
get,
to the
well,
Superman.
we'll put out on the side. But why it's important to talk about it is
Right.
the strategy here, whether it's in the fisheries or in the downtown Providence, or whether it has to be in East Providence, right, or Quonset, or in Johnston and with the it's all about creating these projects.
That
And we
create
haven't even got
jobs.
into the infrastructure on the bridges and the roads and that type of thing, right?
Right.
So it's about creating these jobs, right, that for a period of time employ people, but then afterwards that the projects you're developing create an economy for decades to come, right?
What I was going to bring up to you is right out of college, I graduated from Roger Williams.
Yes.
I went to work for Aetna.
Okay.
You know where my office was? The 9th floor of the Superman building.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, 920. Room
Well, they
920.
might have an apartment there for you if you want to have
They could have
like
a
a
plaque
reunion
or
or something like
something?
that.
Yeah.
They could have a plaque. Did you write your name on the floor or in the bathroom? You write your name in the bathroom there, Bob? Or? No.
920, room 920.
Well, your job issues, like that's the plan, right? And we have a plan called, it's a Rhode Island RI 2030 plan, RI2030.com. And you know that I like plans. We have constructed a 10-year plan
Right.
in writing that's a working document that can be changed as things change. And in there, it talks about the economy, it talks about the jobs. You're talking about, this is where I think that the more we can educate people, Bob,
Right.
about what is happening, I think that the flavor of our whatever you want to call it, but we do have, there's a lot of noise around negative energy in the
There's going to be
state.
a lot more, too, in this campaign.
Well, in the campaign,
Unfortunately.
but that'll end in 7 weeks. But the main thing is, let's talk about this. Lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state of Rhode Island.
Right.
Right? Fastest recovering economy. And in the budget that we passed, we have about 3 to 5 years of economic growth. So the main thing about, people think about economic downturns or, pressure on the economy and,
So you got that flux, you got that
we've got
edge.
built in and I say the best remedy against a recession is JOBS,
Right.
good paying jobs. And we have that in the pipeline. So we just have to execute that and make sure these projects and these developments happen in a way that we make sure it's Rhode Island. We want Rhode Islanders to get these jobs, right? We want that money to stay here in Rhode Island because that money will. I keep saying, it's union jobs. Well, good union jobs are good for communities. Where do you think they spend? Where do you think they buy their pizzas from?
Where do you think they pay taxes?
Where they pay their taxes? Where they buy their pizza from? Where they're going to go to the local and buy a couple pizzas a week, and so the pizza shop. And then what does the pizza shop do with its money? Right? It pays its bills. It pays its staff. So it's getting the momentum and taking advantage of that. And we've got a great deal of momentum. And there's projects I haven't even talked about that are on the drawing. We did the largest surplus in the history of the state of Rhode Island. And what did we do with that surplus? We invested it back in the economy. I took $100 million, invested in our infrastructure, and freed up an additional $400 million of federal dollars for our roads, for over the next few years. That's a lot of money. So you leveraged $100 million of a large surplus and brought another $400 million in.
Yeah.
Well, that's like having an increase in your surplus for $400 million. And
so they put up 80, you put up 20.
80-20,
right?
and we didn't have to borrow the $100 million. So there's no debt service there.
20%.
We put $50 million up for schools. We have a $250 million bond for our schools on the ballot this year, and we put an additional $50 million, no bonding required to help build more schools. Right? Or we put $178 million into Eleanor Slater Hospital, which was a mess when I showed up.
Exactly.
Total mess.
Exactly.
And we put about $170 million on a plan that's going to rebuild and put good facilities in place. So, the people who are, unfortunately that need that care are going to get that care. So, but every one of those things, whether it's $300 million on schools or $170 million on Eleanor Slater, those are jobs. Right? So those jobs.
They all equate to jobs.
They all equate to jobs and good paying jobs. And we just make sure that Rhode Islanders get the benefit of those jobs so that the funds stay in our 39 cities and towns.
All right. You mentioned the soccer stadium in Pawtucket.
Yes.
I'm not so sure of that.
Well,
right? You got to. I'm the. Let's say I'm the person that's still got questions about it.
Yeah.
Educate me.
Well, first of all, I got the tie-breaking vote, which is certainly common knowledge right now. I think it's probably the first tie-breaking vote that a governor has ever had on the Commerce Corporation. But the facts are the facts, right? So, costs did rise. Right. It created some issues that could have killed the project. They could have packed their bags and left. And I felt as though that it was really important to keep that project alive. Remember that, in the backdrop of the Poor Sox issue, which I was, adamantly in favor of the Poor Sox issue, right?
Here.
And that went through our fingertips. And so Worcester's getting the benefit of that and all the residual benefit around that stadium in terms of property values and more development and hotels and restaurants. I want that in Pawtucket. And I felt as though that the project could have died over a situation which was we could actually remedy, right? So you got to remember that the city of Pawtucket got legislation that was passed after the Poor Sox left that allowed them to use tax revenue, specific tax revenue for any project that the Commerce Corporation will approve.
Right.
So the money's already there. It was $6 to $9 million of targeted tax dollars, not new tax dollars, Bob.
Not money, I'm as a Pawtucket taxpayer.
Not new tax dollars.
No.
Dollars that are currently going to the state that now are shifted into development that's going to help the city of Pawtucket. So the notion that this is a 38 studios, no, the money is already sitting there that's going to support whatever bonds that are developed here. So from the state point of view.
And they're not, is it my understanding that they're not, the state money or the city money doesn't come out until?
The state money does not get put into the project until the project is complete.
There you go.
So the risk for the taxpayer, if they can't complete the stadium, no tax dollars goes in there.
If they fall on their face right now, what happens?
But there's no exposure to the state.
How about the city?
The city doesn't really have any exposure at the moment either.
No.
It's all the dollars that have been invested in that project so far, I think, in terms of site preparation and that type of thing, are all coming from private funds. And so the private investment that's in this project is significant. It's not small. It's not like they're walking in.
Well, like you said, it's not like 38 Studios where we put up all the dough.
Yeah, this is not a 38 Studios. It become very political. That whole issue became political. If it wasn't inside...
Well, it became political because you were the deciding vote. That's why...
And I was in the middle of a primary and a campaign where, if I said no to the project,
Right.
everybody would have said yes.
It's still political.
You couldn't provide the leadership to actually get it done. So, look, you're in a catch-22. I think we made the right decision.
If you don't, you S if
We're
you
going to...
don't.
There's a project there that was accepted just before I got into office. The basic tenets of that project are still in place. You're going to build a bridge, I call it over the troubled waters now, because you're going to connect the bridge from one side of the river to the other side of the river, not unlike what you did in Providence.
Right.
How much money did that bridge cost in Providence?
Well,
how much did it cost?
The thing that troubles me is the over...
How much was the end cost?
Oh, it was supposed to be like $5 million.
But how much was it?
Was 60? I don't know.
I think it was close to 20. Is anybody complaining about that investment right now?
Yeah.
If you go down there right now in Providence and you're connecting one side of the river and that walkway, that is one of the biggest enhancements that the city has right now. So this notion that somehow that this is not a good investment, and the reason I pointed out what we're doing in Galilee or Quonset or East Providence. Right. What's the difference between putting money in East Providence or putting public money into Pawtucket?
Right.
There's no difference. They're all going to create jobs, and long term, they're going to create an economic opportunity.
But when you say,
and this is the project that Pawtucket wanted. Okay, so this is the one they wanted. Where in East Providence, Mayor De Silva, he wanted that port on the river, right? He wanted that seaport that's going to bring in an entertainment venue as well. So I'm a mayor. I'm listening to the mayors.
Right.
Mayor De Silva wanted that project. I made sure it happened because it made sense.
Right.
Mayor Grebian wanted that project. I made sure it happened because it made sense. And when we invest in the bridge that's going to connect both sides of the river, and you have the parking and the housing that's going to be there, and the retail development is going to be there.
So all the retail in the housing's all going to be on the other side.
Most of it is. There's going to be some level of components, just like at Gillette Stadium. Around Gillette Stadium, there's a couple things that'll happen around the stadium that'll support that stadium. But River Walk and other things like that. The amenities there are going to be fantastic. If you just went to the Taiwan Festival any year,
I've gone there every year.
and you saw the dragon boat races.
Remember who talked you to go to Taiwan?
I know that, and it got me in. Was in one of the. I sponsored one of the entries this year. I didn't get on. They said, "Don't get on that boat.
Don't get on that boat.
If you fall in, it's not a good.
Not a good look.
Optic. So,
not a good look.
But yes, So if you went there and you saw that, and then across the river you're going to have a soccer stadium, and then you're going to have a bridge across that's going to reconnect you into the park where the dragon boat races are there, and there's 300, 400, 500 homes there with people who have jobs, earning money, and then they're going to be spending those dollars in a local way, and then you branch out as you get towards the apex and that type of thing. It's a good vision, and I'm going to support it. And I was very, very adamant. I'm not turning my back on the city of Pawtucket, and other people have. And there was people that were, the people who are talking against that project are, working against, in my opinion, the city of Pawtucket. And the whole economic strategy that we put in place on the Rhode Island 2030 plan says we're going to get jobs here, jobs Johnson, we're going to put jobs here, jobs in Pawtucket. We're going to grow an economy through those jobs, and then what's left, those investments we make are going to create an economy that's going to go for decades further. So that time will tell, but I'm pretty good at this stuff, Bob. So I don't know whether I convince you any differently, but if you still want to be a naysayer on the thing, that's okay.
No.
But
my only problem with that whole thing was, why would you put a soccer stadium right at the waterfront?
Why would you what?
Put a soccer stadium at the waterfront.
Where do you think that the San Francisco Giants play or the Baltimore Orioles play?
They're baseball.
The backdrop is right on a river.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to have activity on that river that you haven't had before, right? They're talking about potentially even bringing in transportation along the river to soccer games from Providence.
Do you know?
From Providence, have dinner in Providence to come to a soccer game. What's the difference? We take trains up to Boston to see the Red Sox or the Celtics, and then we didn't even talk about the train station that's going to open up very shortly.
Very soon.
And I put over almost $6 million into the budget to make sure that all the facilities were there, the bathroom facilities were there, all, making sure that that's first class. I'm kind of tired of being second class. We're going to go first class in the state, and we're going to take advantage of this economy to make it happen. Right? So I'll tell you one thing. I'll get you a ticket to the first game, and then we'll see what you think about them, because there will be a bridge over those troubled waters, and there will be construction on the other side for the housing.
Yep.
And you know damn well that you can't have an economy unless you have people. And so if you have, when you bring in housing,
well, we need housing, especially.
And when you bring
we
in,
lost population.
And when you bring in housing, you're going to bring in, people who are earning a living, raising a family, investing in that. So you need to kind of, the whole package is going to work. But the context that I want people to understand is that this is not a standalone investment.
It's a vision.
It's a vision about what's happening on the fisheries, what's happening on the offshore wind, what's happening on, in Johnston with the Amazon project, what's happening in downtown Providence with the Superman building, or investing in the convention center, putting a new roof on the new former Dunk, now AMP. I attended the game when the thing was leaking.
Really?
So we're going to invest in that facility.
Well, you are a hands-on guy. You always were as mayor for 12
Yeah,
years.
and so you're going to do that. You're going to have the 195 land that we're going to develop life science there. We're going to build a state lab that we really need. Coming out of the pandemic, it was clear that our lab space down in near the State House was very insufficient to that problem. But we're going to do a public-private partnership there. We're going to add square footage for wet lab space for people come in from Cambridge and other places. There's another 300,000 square feet of lab space that's going to get built there by Brown University. That's going to be a public-private type of a strategy too, from the university into the private industry. So we just need to take advantage of all the opportunities we have. So, and one of them, okay, some people don't like soccer. So they, if it was baseball, you would have been saying, hey, let's invest in the baseball program.
I would have been.
I know that, but so maybe you're not a soccer player. Your knees are too bad to play soccer right now.
You're right about that.
You can't even make it up a hill in Wesley.
But you did mention, thankfully.
You can't even make it up a parade route in Wesley, for God's sakes, anymore.
Well, maybe not now. But who walked the parade routes with you? Huh?
Yeah, you messed up your knees even worse.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a handshake on that one. How are we doing?
We did the Westerly parade. It was a 3.5-mile parade.
It was a long one, and it was hot.
It was hot.
On Columbus Day, and it was like 85 degrees.
We did 3 parades in 3 days.
I know that. And then we had to go up a hill.
We were through 3 cities there. We were in Connecticut, if you remember. That parade goes through two cities in Connecticut.
I keep on spending time down in Westerly. It's a great place.
It's Westerly, North Stonington, and Pawcatuck.
That's right.
The three down, and I know it's 3.5 miles long.
Yes.
I know. I walked it. Not only walked it, I walked it backwards. If you
Yes, I
recall.
still give a shout out to
the pictures.
the Misquamicut Business Association down there. What a great thing! But that community, for people who are watching this in Rhode Island, have never visited Westerly, you got to go down there.
Exactly.
Because it's about a 50-minute ride from here, and it's on the ocean.
Right.
And the business community down there is great. The arts communities down there are great. They have one of the internationally renowned choruses that give concerts, and they do one with the Philharmonic Orchestra out of Boston every summer. 10,000 people come to the Wilcox Park.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw Jefferson Starship down there.
Well,
I interviewed them.
They do Tunes on the Dunes, which
Yep.
is really kind of neat. And people in Rhode Island, that's what part of what we're going to do, Bob, is that not only are we going to create Rhode Island as a destination state, for people to put on their bucket list for all the good reasons from outside the state or outside the country, but also we want to make sure that people in the state of Rhode Island know all these things that are right at their fingertips. And connecting our 39 cities and towns is one of my top priorities, and all the communities that make up the community.
Well, there's a statistic that Rhode Island has more historical locations per size than any state in the country.
I'm told 20% of our founding, documents and history is right here in Rhode Island. So we put in more jobs, $47 million into the budget. What governor would ever do that? That came from, I believe, the surplus dollars. $47 million to retrofit to refurbish the State House. That's our jewel, right? The State House
Exactly.
is our jewel. And it's a dome, which is one of the top 3
Remember when I had the
domes.
5 lawyers from China that come and visit? And I ended up taking them to Federal Hill. I took them to the, Prospect Park over on the east side. But it all started, they came to the State House and they were looking around, and I ended up giving them a tour of the building.
Well, my vision there is to create a State House that people go visit.
Well, that's what I meant. It's such a
And
beautiful
inside-
building.
It
That's
is
what
a
I meant.
beautiful building, and there should be interactive strategies there that people come in and they say, that was worth the visit. I didn't know about that about Rhode Island. I didn't know that about Rhode Island, right? And we're going to make Rhode Island a bucket list state. People are going to put it on their bucket list, and then we're going to give these destinations, whether it is going down and seeing Newport, or and
or
experiencing
Westerly,
that,
like
or
you
Westerly,
said, or
like you said,
Tiverton, a little
or the
Compton.
Blackstone Valley, and other areas of the state. People will come to Rhode Island. They don't need to be. It doesn't have to be one of the 7 wonders of the world. Families who visit, right? When Sue and I, were on family vacations outside the state, we didn't look for we went to a community college to see the Music Man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what we have here is phenomenal, and we have never had destination marketing at the airport ever. Not in the budget
remember
line.
what you did? Do you remember what
I
you
do.
did?
You want to tell me about Warwick Ice Cream?
Exactly.
See,
Remember,
you and I know too much together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still there, by the way. You know.
Somebody approached me, the owner of Warwick Ice Cream. I ran into him, and he said, "I've been trying for 12 years to get in to the airport," and they had Good Humor ice cream in it.
I don't know what they have.
And I brought it to his attention, and you went to work. We went to work. We got Warwick ice cream in that
We did.
facility.
We did, and so right now,
And it made no sense why they weren't there.
well, that's part of our effort, right, Bob? is
Exactly.
Why aren't we supporting our local businesses in a
Right.
way? And so we're
You're
doing
giving the
that
money
right
to
now.
Connecticut because that
Yeah.
Good Humor was out
well,
of
we're
Connecticut.
doing that, and that's where those small business activities come in. But we're expanding our airport, Rhode Island Airport, the Rhode Island International Green Airport.
Right.
We have Breeze coming in.
Exactly.
They have announced that
To
they're going to
California,
they're going to
direct
put
flights.
multiple. They're going to make it an anchor for their airline, and they're going to put start off with 4 planes.
Yep.
And they're going to have close to 200 jobs that are going to get associated with that. So we can make, and we put money into the budget this year. And again, I got to speak of Speaker Sakachi, Senate President Ruggiero, met with them every single week during session. This budget and all this progress is as much theirs as anybody's. And we put money in the budget this year to actually promote our tourism to come in by plane. Because the majority of our tourism in the state of Rhode Island is cars. We
95, Route
we have
95.
never, most of our traffic that leaves Greene, our Rhode Island Airport there, leaves Warwick, goes somewhere and comes back. We have very little leisure travel that comes from outside the state into Rhode Island and then goes back.
Right.
So we need to make sure that's like, that's gold, right? That's gold in the hills. We can mine that,
That's
right?
passing it up, you mean?
Yeah,
That's what's happened.
If we become a destination through our airlines, then there's going to be even more tourism that comes to Rhode Island, right? And so we'll package that, a visit to the State House, a visit to the Blackstone River.
And it'll all start even just with the airline employees.
It'll start.
They're from out of town, and they got to have when they're staying overnights and they're doing extra days, they get someplace to go.
This is true. So it's a whole package. In the Rhode Island 2030 plan, if anybody wants to really see where we're going in the state, they go to the RhodeIsland2030.com. And then there's a section there on education. I see education on your sheet there. There's a section.
education,
There's
yeah.
a section there.
We haven't got to it
on
yet.
healthcare. There's a section on tourism. There's a section on transportation. There's a section on housing. There's a section on seniors. There's a section on veterans. By the way, veterans this year, first year that they will not have to pay a state tax on their pension in Rhode Island.
Right.
Never done before. I was there 1 year. We got it done. General Assembly helped accelerate it with, as things look a little better. So, so you're going to want to make sure that Rhode Island we build additional pride, because people have a lot of pride that live in this state. And we build on that pride. And then what's going to happen is going to multiply. Because Rhode Island, we have the third, in the top 3 most accessible airports in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So our travel is really strong. And yet we don't really, we never put a marketing budget in.
Right.
There is one now.
Oh, there's a lot of people out of Massachusetts they'd rather fly out of here than fly out of Logan.
It's one of the top 3 most convenient airports in the country.
Yep.
And that's an asset that many states don't have. And Rhode Island has that, right? So we're going to take advantage of all our opportunities, and then we're going to do new opportunities. Offshore wind is going to be a major thing for us. And us guys that have been like living in the world, well, that renewables are never going to come our way. It is accelerating at a
Well, I'm buying a Tesla.
You are?
Yeah.
That's a pretty expensive car.
Well,
Are you going to use, or you? What did you say you were before about hunting on cars? What'd you say?
a hustler. What are you
Oh,
talking
you're hustling. You're hustling
Yes,
that.
hustle cars,
Are you
yeah.
hustling that from the guy that owns? What's the guy's name that owns that Tesla? You hustling? Huh?
I'm going to get a Tesla.
Okay, so now you're starting to understand that as we put
You ever drive one?
recharging units around the state, $20
Yep.
million on that. When we start talking about, I put in the budget this year.
Fast charging stations?
Charging stations for
No, fast charging.
for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll have the best technology.
Yeah.
We're not going to be like second rate anymore. Good enough is never good enough, right? You know that.
That's
So
right.
we're going to have, and we're going to be leading in the offshore wind. We have the brightest future on offshore wind of anywhere in the country. I actually have spent some time in the Oval Office with the president, and I was on a call with governors up the East Coast about what we're doing on offshore wind. This support that's going to come from Washington on this issue is going to be very similar to the support that was given to the fossil fuel industry when they subsidized fossil fuels, when that was that was our go-to
Right.
source. And it still, in many ways, is, but that's going to change very quickly.
Right.
And so when you talk about, I put in the budget to procure an additional 1,000 megawatts of energy on offshore wind. That's going out to procurement right now. And that's going to be people who are going to want to construct that offshore. How many houses do you think that's going to electrify? Take a guess.
I have no idea.
Take a guess. No, go take a guess. Come on.
10,000.
Take a guess.
100,000.
Take a guess.
No, don't, come on, not more than that.
Close to 500,000.
Really?
homes in the state of Rhode Island. So, and that's all going to be done by 2030. So we're in this really sweet spot for Rhode Island, because
Right.
the renewables and the offshore wind and everything related to it and all the supply chain issues, that's what East Providence is investing in now. That's going to be a world-class offshore wind supply chain
Right.
strategy there, as is Quonset. And the companies that we have that we're doing business with right now, they're world leaders in this renewable. And they've identified Rhode Island as a place they want to invest in.
Well, it is windy out there.
It is windy. I know that. I don't know that really that well because I haven't played too much golf in the last year and a half. But I know that you want to have the wind to your back. So Rhode Island's got its wind to the back. Its wind is at its back, and we want to take advantage of it. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, economic development. You've
How
talked
much
all
more time
about
you
that.
got?
That's all you've been talking about. Taxes.
Huh? Taxes. That's a good one. We've eliminated the car tax.
Right.
The reason we were able to accelerate it because we managed,
I'm glad you did that, by the way.
even though you're a hustler for cars.
No, if I
Yeah.
buy a Tesla, it's an expensive car, like you said.
I'm going to tell you, this is going to activate economy for us, right? So not only do we give a competitive edge on New England states, because we're the only one who has no car tax, right, for people. So
No,
that-
well, that's not true.
New England states.
New Hampshire. I don't think New Hampshire has a car
They have
tax.
they have a property tax. Maybe they don't have a car tax.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, well, then we're competing with
All right,
New
we'll
Hampshire.
compete.
No longer can they say that we're not
They're
competing
the
with New
only
Hampshire.
ones.
Yeah.
Well,
So
they have a small one.
But-
Let's go. They have a small one. You're right. They have a small one.
This year,
A very low.
This year, that was $75 million of tax relief to the people in the state of Rhode Island.
But how do you make that up?
That we did that through the surplus, and I already got it baked into the next budget. It's not going to be a problem.
Really?
So
How do the cities and towns make it up?
they get reimbursed. We had to put the money in the budget
Right.
to reimburse the cities and towns what they
For
would
what they
would
lost.
normally collect
Right,
on a cut.
right.
So they're being reimbursed right now. So the money's in the budget.
Right.
We have no reason to believe it's ever coming out of the budget. And so now you have no car tax. That was $75 million of tax relief in one shot.
Yep.
The funds that were going to go, we got $250 child credit going to the families that are, virtually every family in the state of Rhode Island that has kids 18 and under, up to 3 kids in a family. That's going out in the next 60 days. That's over
One-time deal? Or what is
one-time
that?
deal
Yeah.
with our surplus, right? Surplus is a good, Bob.
Of course.
I like surplus.
I like surplus.
And I'm going to manage another surplus this year, I believe, a very strong surplus, and then we're going to invest it back in these
But
things.
wait a
again.
minute, you got a problem, don't you?
What is the problem?
Didn't the problem just come out on the news today or yesterday?
What's that?
The tolls.
Yeah, so we're looking at that, we're reviewing that, talking about the fact that the tolls have to be stopped for a period of time.
Some judge.
And then we're reviewing that. We'll see what it is. But it's not with all the good things that are going on here, there's nothing going to stop us on that. We'll figure out a strategy that'll, we got to keep on doing the road works. By the way, we're not taxing cars. I
That's
wanna
right.
make that
Just
very
got to
clear.
ask you that. I was just going to ask
We
you.
are not tolling cars. We just got rid of the car tax. And as the advertisements go, we just got rid of the car tax. Right? So we're not taxing cars, and then we're not going to expand, the tolling, and we're not going to expand who gets tolled. So we'll see where that settles, right? We're going to take a look at it, and then we're going to deal with it. But on terms of the taxes, we've had no broad-based tax increases since I've been in office.
Right.
There's no need to do it at this moment in time. We're managing the state in a way where we always can do better. When I always say, look, if it's raining, don't tell me the sun's shining. So I'm always going to be honest with people where there's challenges, right? We do have challenges in multiple areas.
Well, that's why I'm throwing them out to you.
Yeah. Well, that's not a challenge. We're going to make sure. We get beat up on our infrastructure, and it's not even right. Even some of the the rankings of small businesses, and they talk about infrastructure.
Right.
That current is 3 years ago.
Right.
They're working on 3-year-ago information.
Well, they're talking about Route 10. That's what they're talking about.
Well, they're not even talk about the completion of Route 10
I
right
know,
now, right?
I know.
They're not. They won't talk about that until 3 years from now.
Right.
So all the work that's being done right now, unless we knock on the door, I told Director Alviti today, go knock on their door.
I've invited
Wherever
them
they
on
are.
my show to come over here and explain everything to
Well,
us.
I can tell you that a lot of it is just trailing information. It doesn't reflect the investment that's being made. I don't know how many bridges we've done, but I think we got almost up to 200 bridges that we've done work on since road work started. It's a good program.
Right.
And we'll review the court decision, and then we'll decide what the best avenue to take for the people in the state of Rhode Island.
On the lighter side.
A later side, okay.
On the lighter side.
Yes.
What the hell is that thing over there?
Oh yeah, that's what we got to talk about. Can I bring this in?
Go for it.
All right.
Don't go too far.
You know-
Don't go too far. Don't go too
I can't
far.
go too far.
You're hooked up.
Well, 1 second. Pull that over. Oh my God. All right, pull that over so you can see it. So this is, thanks. All right.
Now, what is that?
So
Tell
this is-
everybody what that's all about.
I want to tell you this. I mean, how many years have you been doing this, Howard, Bob?
It's my 31st year.
So that's remarkable. So my nephew and my brother did a show on cable here for several years called The Wheelhouse.
It was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Hilarious. And so when COVID hit, my brother Mike really started isolating himself quite a bit.
Really?
So
How's he doing, by the way?
Mike's doing good.
Good.
Mike's doing good, but he felt as though, from his point of view, his health was potentially compromised. So he got out of the whole wheelhouse. Well, this
Right.
was the
You
wheelhouse.
got out of the wheelhouse.
Yeah, but I really am going to encourage that we did a Christmas holiday show every year for about 3 or 4 years, and our whole family came in.
It was great.
And we ran. You were at one of them, or
Yep.
maybe more. So, anyways, I was just asking because you guys changed your studios after the COVID,
Yeah, we
and I was
moved out of
wondering
the-
whether look at this traveling thing. So, and I was wondering whether the wheelhouse was still here. So I'm going to be talking to Seamus, who
Your
is like
nephew.
my nephew,
Yeah.
who has now they just welcomed their first child into their family, and And I'm going to say, you got to come back and at least do a holiday show.
Exactly, at the very least.
At the very least.
Yes.
And so, yes, but I'm glad that that we didn't toss out the wheelhouse. They would always have an issue.
I was just going to ask you that. Well, what was on there? We're
always
missing
write in the story that they wanted to cover.
Right.
And then they would run the wheel, and they would say, "Oh, let's talk about the NBA Finals with the Celtics and Golden State. What happened in that one?" And then they would spend some time on that, and then they would do the
In fact, most of the time it was about basketball.
And I'll tell you one thing that we would have reflected on, and I would have came in because I was a guest on the show a couple times. If we were going to reflect on Bill Russell's career, because we lost Bill Russell this year, and that was a remarkable career not only as a ball player, but also as a
manager,
a coach, a manager,
General
but
manager.
also somebody that was well ahead of his times in terms of the injustices that were reflected into the black community, right?
Yep.
So he was a champion there. So that would have been a great conversation to have, especially in the backdrop. The 4 things I did as governor. 1 was get shots in the arms. One from one of the worst to the best. Economy. Opened up our economy faster than anywhere in the Northeast, which is pretty good.
Yep.
Right? It had to do with education, which is on there, was to reopen our schools safely, and we did. And we did it in a way that is going to, help us move forward, especially as we opened up this September without any masks and that type of thing. And then the other one was that I really paid attention to this idea of equity and taking down hurdles that are in the way of certain communities, and take those hurdles down one at a time, without compromising that we want all our kids and we want all our families to get over the finish line. So it doesn't do us good to take down hurdles if in fact we stop. The intention is not to bring everybody over that finish line.
Right.
So we really focused on that, and the Office for Diversity and Opportunity, restaffed that. That was an office that was supposed to put at least 10% of your contracts to minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. It's never been done before. We're actually managing that now. I think the last number I got was about 16%. Because our economy, to grow our economy, everybody needs to grow with it.
Be a piece of it.
Everybody has to be with it. And the biggest opportunity we have to grow our economy is to really lift up those who have not really been, that had too many hurdles to jump that they couldn't,
couldn't be part of it.
Couldn't enjoy that opportunity. So, and you don't have to take away, I keep on saying, you don't have to take something off somebody's plate to actually get, to take down barriers, to take down hurdles. And when we do that, you're going to have a better flow in the economy. And so the more people, and you're going to have less need. And that's one of our biggest challenges right now is need, right? We have far too many people on Medicaid. We need to figure out a way to, increase their incomes. And that's my number one priority as governor is going to be increase people's per capita income in the state of Rhode Island.
Good. I guess we're getting cold. We're getting closed out here.
Good. Well, I'll have to come back because you got education on
we
there.
still got jobs.
We
got
didn't
jobs.
have
You got jobs. We got.
I don't know. I ripped up the
what's
taxes.
What's this family Wilmer? What's that?
Oh, my mom?
Oh, your mom. That's your
Yeah,
mom.
the
That's
family.
right. I'm sorry. I forgot. That's well. I told you before. I love that commercial.
Everybody loves that commercial.
I love that commercial.
And I'll just tell you a quick.
You better hurry up.
And it runs age groups. I had a 4-year-old kid come up to the Fatima Feast in Cumberland, which we have every year.
Yep.
And his dad says, "My son would like to ask you a question." I got down on one knee and I said, "What's the question, young man? Are you the governor that lives with his mother?" 4 years old. They said they taped it in their house and they replay it all the time, and the kid knows every line.
All right. Folks, thank you, and thank the governor for spending an hour with Bob.
Thanks, Bob. I'll come back in a couple of years.
Well, we're going to have to come back soon. We got
Okay, yeah, we'll come back soon.
We got stuff to finish over here.
All right, okay.
Till next time. See you.